Good afternoon. The police application form and interview can be a challenging process. Using the STAR approach can be a useful tool to help you make your application forms and interviews stand out. As we discuss the STAR framework, I will be asking you for your thoughts. Please put your ideas and feedback in the chat box as we go along. Recruiters from many industries or sectors love to use behavioural interview questions. You'll recognise these types of questions because they begin with statements like, tell me about a time, or describe a situation when. The police often use behavioural type questions on their application forms to get candidates to reflect on their behaviour and values and how it matches what the police require. Behavioural questions force you to tell a story, to give specific details from your past that demonstrate how your experience meets what the police is looking for. Why do the police use behavioural questions? Well, simply it's because that for the police, your past behaviour is a good predictor of how you might behave in the future. How can the STAR method help? When answering an interview or application question, the goal is to provide detail in an organised and succinct way. The STAR method provides a framework or a simple checklist in your mind. It helps you ensure that you don't leave anything important out. In the STAR method, each letter represents one component of your interview response or application response. Include each component and you have the perfect response to any application or interview question. Okay, so here's the STAR approach. And STAR stands for, S stands for situation. The who, the what, the where, and the why. T stands for task. What was your role? What was your assigned goal in the example? A stands for action. What did you have to do? What were you trying to do? Who were you working with? And then R stands for the result. What happens? And this is the bit that obviously sometimes students miss out on. It's very important if you're giving an example that you give a clear result. What I've got here is actually a modification of an application form for the police. And this was a particular set of questions around a key competency that the police are looking for, which is professionalism. Okay, so I'll just give you a second to have a look at how that question is broken down into the four particular components. Okay, as you can see, I've actually adapted this question from a real police application form. And as you look at the questions, you'll see that they don't match STAR exactly. But by using STAR and thinking about STAR, you should be able to use those 70 words to be succinct and give a good example. What I want you to do is have a look at this, and can you think of an example from your own life that you could use to perhaps answer these questions? It could be from your part-time retail job, it could be from a placement that you've done, or some volunteering that you've done. Imagine writing about that example using STAR. If you've got any thoughts, put them in the chat box. Okay, values are an important part of what the police is looking for, as well as other public services. I've listed here 4 values that the police think are very important, as well as professionalism. So I've got transparency, impartiality, integrity, and public service. These are from all the College of Policing websites. It really helps on your application form or interview to make sure, or to try if you can, to see how your STAR example fits in to these values. Could your example show that you've acted with integrity or honesty? Not every STAR example would reflect your values, but if you can, try and always link it to the values for whatever employer you're looking for. The other aspect of STAR, and Alexis has put it in the chat box, is how you use STAR at interview. You will use the STAR approach on application forms, but you can also use it for interview. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how you can use STAR with interview questions. You have a look at the example that I've put there. Describe a situation where you've helped or supported an individual or a group of people. So this is a fairly straightforward standard question that you might be asked. Okay, and below that I've put some thinking to try and get you to think about how you could answer that question using STAR. So what was the situation when you were working with this group of people? When you were working with this group of people, what was the task? What were you trying to do? Was it a community group? Were you trying to get them to play sport? Was it a creative group? What were you actually trying to do? And then to focus on the action that you took. Was it face-to-face interaction? Was it online? How did you actually engage with that group of people? And then, as I said, very much focus on the result. So how did working with that group come about, and what were some of the results? Okay, there are a couple of things that you will need to keep in mind as you structure your answers on an application form or an interview using STAR. There are certainly things that you can trip you up if you're not careful. I think when using STAR, sometimes there's a tendency to perhaps exaggerate your examples to make them sound better or impress the police by what you've done. If you can, I would try and resist that urge. The truth sometimes has a way of coming out, so sometimes you can get confused if you over exaggerate things. So try and keep the example clear, and honesty is the best policy when dealing with the police. Also, my advice would be to keep the story short. Focus on the aspects of it that sort of show you in the best light. Stick to the point, don't drag it out. Use the 4 elements of STAR: situation, task, action, result, to focus the story. Leave out stuff that's irrelevant and things that don't demonstrate your ability to do the job. If it's a STAR example on an application form, always think about the word count. It's very important that you stick to the word count. You'll see from the example I've just shown you that for the police it was 70 words. You need to be on that or slightly below it. Don't exceed the word count. I think the only thing sort of left to say is practice. Certainly if you book a mock interview with careers, we can help you, give you examples so that you can practice your STAR approach. We can also help you with interview questions and practicing responses to interview questions. And as I say, just get more comfortable with this whole approach, because as I said, the more you practice it, the better and the easier it will become. And hopefully then, once you've practiced it and you've got some good examples that you can use the STAR approach with, then you're going to have no fears about the application and interview process for the police. So I'm aware, whilst I've been talking, there's been some questions in the chat box. So I'll start to